And, we're all here because we care about ideas. We care about liberty. We care about the future of humanity. Perhaps some of us are concerned about the direction that the world is going in. I want to provide you guys today with a practical outline for the future of freedom, how to get started, and some actionable advice for doing so, all sort of under this lens of higher education. A little about me. I suspect I share a similar story with a lot of you guys. When I was in college, I was heavily involved in the liberty scene, in the academic ideas scene. I attended all the conferences. I did campus activism. I did fundraising. I was involved in NGOs and nonprofits. I even sued the school for a free speech claim, and we won $15,000 and forced the school to change its policy. It was one of the best times of my life, and I got sort of increasingly roped into this nonprofit world, which I imagine many of you guys are sort of part of right now. Now, I was particularly passionate about the challenges of higher education and reforming higher education. I believed then, and I still do, that education is sort of the key to promoting liberty around the world. But as time went by, things sort of began to change for me. I began to feel a bit of a malaise starting to creep in. It was hard to actually measure the success I was having. And if I was having any. And the majority of my time was spent kind of talking about how bad the world was, how stupid everybody is, this very kind of negative environment that sort of starts to creep into a lot of these ideas scenes and nonprofit space. I was focusing all my time on the question of liberty so much that I was neglecting my health. I was having trouble sleeping. I was having problems dealing with other people because I was so wrapped into all these ideas, and I was sort of in that process absolving myself of the responsibility of figuring out what I actually wanted to do with my life. So it was then that I asked myself the question that I want each of you guys to ask today, and I want you to continue asking throughout the course of your life as you engage with these ideas further. And the question is, what would I do with my life if I were living absolutely freely? What would my day-to-day life look like? What would my relationship to others be? Where would I live? What would I build? In other words, what would I do if I got the freedom that I claim I want? Because after all, there's a point to liberty, isn't there? It's not simply about freedom for the sake of being free. It's about the freedom to live our lives according to our values, our needs, and our goals. I find all too often people who are kind of interested in this nonprofit space and abstract ideas forget the very concrete, practical reality of freedom. We want freedom so we can flourish as individuals and as a society. So I thought really hard about this question, and I realized that my life looked radically different than the one I was living now. I realized further that most of the things holding me back were not the government, were not other people, but it was myself and my relationship to each of those institutions. I saw that I could live free in the here and now while still projecting a long-range vision for the future of liberty and still engaging with those ideas. And so I did. I became ruthless about exiting many of the systems that were holding me back. And one of those biggest ones was college and the university system. I don't know really how it is for a lot of you guys in Europe, but in the United States, I would say, this is a charitable statement, that college is one of the biggest frauds perpetrated on young people today. We're told that we need to spend absurd amounts of money, upwards of $50,000 or $60,000 a year in the United States, spend 4 to 8 years of our life preparing for school just to get started doing what we actually want to do with our lives. And these kids are graduating with few skills, few experiences, and little self-knowledge that allows them to go out into the real world and build a successful, meaningful life for themselves, and to go out and build the kind of liberty-related institutions that they want to build. So I dropped out. Over the last couple of years, I've built a marketing company, like T-Bolt said. I've worked with clients from all over the world. I travel pretty much full-time right now. I write, I speak at conferences. I've flown over 100,000 miles this year alone, and I've been able to do that at a fraction of the cost of college in the United States. I'm currently, like I said, the director of marketing at Praxis, and we've been able to help a lot of kids do similar things. So we've taken kids who are 17, 18, 19 years old who are miserable in school and just want to sort of begin their lives, and we've helped them build tremendously successful careers for themselves at a much earlier age than they're typically allowed to do. We have 17-year-olds working at startups making $70,000 a year, $80,000 a year, and by the time they would have graduated college, they'll have 6 or 7 years of work experience under their belt. So we've started sort of an international discussion around the subject of college, and we've been able to back up our vision with real-world results. In other words, we have been able to criticize the higher education system by creating a practical alternative for myself and for others. And over the last few years, I've sort of adopted this motto more and more, and I think it's something that's very important for people who care about ideas and care about liberty. Criticize by creating. And it means a few things. It means that creators, not reformers, are the prime movers of the world. People who are able to hold an abstract idea and translate that into, and concretize it into a valuable product or service for others. It means, number two, that politics might not be the best way to make the world a freer place. In 2 years, Praxis has accomplished more for education than any reformer, I would say, alive today. We've been able to do that while making a lot of money. And talk is cheap. Ideas matter, but too often, intelligent people like yourselves get caught up in the world of ideas and never spend time to actually think about what it is they actually want and how to bring about the physical manifestation of those ideas. So I want to challenge you guys today to start thinking critically about your lives and your ideas. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you had the freedom you say you want and you need? What would you do? Start thinking about those options more broadly than politics and reform. Can you exit an existing system and build a better alternative now? And if you can, then why aren't you doing it? Chances are, I would say you probably can, and you can probably, like I said, build a career and a life for yourself and make money doing it. So, a couple